to another Whaletail Outdoors how-to video. In this segment, I'll be showing you how to correctly mount your turkey's fantail. When preserving a fantail, it's important to follow these steps to ensure that your trophy will last a lifetime. Let's go ahead and get started. Before starting, you're going to need to collect some materials to make your job easier. I like to use gloves when removing meat from the fantail. Using sewing scissors and a wire brush help with the intricate parts in this project. Wire cutters are essential when removing the tailbone. Having an X-Acto knife or a scalpel makes this job a lot easier. Using Bondo to encase the fantail is a great way to keep bugs out. We'll use borax to preserve the remaining flesh. Using white gas or camping fuel will degrease any fat or flesh left on the fantail. When initially removing the fantail from the turkey, it's important to remove more feathers and meat than you think you need. I start this process by using my X-Acto knife to carefully remove any meat from the fantail. As you continue removing the meat from the fantail, you should notice some of the quills and some fat being exposed. At this point, you should start to be able to feel the tailbone. Carefully start making incisions on either side of the tailbone. Continue removing the meat around the tailbone. It's important you don't cut too deep, as you will damage the quills if you go too far. As you've carefully removed the meat around the tailbone, use your wire cutters to actually snip through the bone itself. After cutting any remaining meat or flesh, the bone should simply fall off. Go ahead and flip the fantail over and remove any other meat found on the other side. This is a tedious process. However, removing all fat and any meat from this fantail is important to preserving it for a lifetime. Use the smallest and sharpest sewing scissors you can find. These will help you remove the meat and fat from the hard-to-get spots. Use your wire brush to remove any fat that's found left in between the quills. Now that you've removed any meat or fat from the fantail, it's time to soak it in the camping fuel for at least an hour. I use a rubber band for this part to wrap around the feathers and make sure they're not sitting inside the camping fuel. While we're waiting for our fantails to soak and dry, let's head over to A-Frame Custom Woodworking and see how Chet's doing with our turkey plaques. fantails are dry now, and now the next step is to go ahead and clip any unwanted fat or meat that's left after the soaking process. We'll put some borax on there and some Bondo, and we'll be ready to mount these guys up. When the degreasing process is complete, you'll want to go back and remove any meat or fat that you missed before. Now it's time to use borax to pack in and around the remaining flesh on the fantail. I use a liberal amount of borax as this step is vital to preserving the fantail. With the fantail facing right side up, you'll want to use pins to hold your feathers in place. Start with the base of the fantail. You want to use your pins to place in between the quills to hold the feathers in place. I try to use at least 2 pins for each quill under the feathers. Once the quills are set in the middle, you'll want to move farther away from the base. Use the pins to place on either side of the quills to hold them in place. Work your way around the entire fantail. Each feather should have at least 2 pins holding it in place. Now that you've restored the fantail to its original strut position, you want to give it some time to dry out and set in place. I use Bondo to encase any exposed parts of the quills. The Bondo creates a hard shell and keeps any unwanted pests from destroying the fantail. Use a spackling knife to spread the Bondo out. When the Bondo dries, it holds the fantail into strut position. This is helpful when you're mounting it on a plaque. Preparing the beard takes no time at all. You want to remove any flesh or fat that's found on the beard. Be careful not to cut too closely to the bristles, as you'll remove part of the beard by accident. As an extra measure, make sure to pack borax in and around what's left of the flesh. With the hard part behind us, now it's time to mount the fantail on a plaque. I'm here at A-Frame Woodworking with Chet, and we're going to be working with him on his new line of turkey plaques.
Yeah, cool. We're happy to be working with Whaletail Outdoors on this new series of turkey plaques we're offering for this upcoming season. We got a traditional model, and I also have another model in the works. But the one we're going to look at today is the archery model for your kill out in Oklahoma.
Sounds like a plan. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do with this mount, now that the Bondo's dried, is go ahead and mark a center hole. We're going to pre-drill this just to make sure we don't crack anything. and that way we can ensure that it's centered on the mount itself. Looks like we got it centered up here, and I'm just going to go through the Bondo itself and through any flesh that's on the turkey.
All right, now that Cole's pre-drilled that hole for us, we're going to take our plaque and we're going to flip it over. I'm going to line up the tail feathers so they're down against the arrowhead portion. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up for Cole so he can see it, because we're working from the back of this, so he can give us a yay or a nay on the location.
That looks perfectly centered. Looks good.
All right, we're going to do a little pre-drill since we're going through the Bondo, and just going to go into our plaque. That way our 1¼ inch screw will drive right into the back of this plaque. Just snug the Bondo up to the plaque. It's a really light tail feather, so you don't have to put too much pressure on it. That's it. Okay, now comes the fun part of putting the beard. There's a 3/4 inch groove routed in here for your beard. Make sure you decide if you want it to go to the left or the right before you start this. You get one crack at it. What we're going to do is take hot glue and we're going to seal up where Cole's trimmed off any of the fat and the extra meat around the beard. It also helps to keep some of the critters out of there. And all it takes is some hot glue, and then put it in there and let it set. And don't be afraid to use some hot glue. Help seal that up and get a good bond with the wood. And then once you're ready, set it into place. There you go. After it dries, you'll be able to come back and clean up the excess glue if any has gotten onto the plaque.
Here's the final mount. Looks great. Thank you, Chet, for all your help, man. Seriously, these new barnwood plaques look amazing. If you found our video informative, make sure to like us on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and if you're interested in ordering some of these turkey plaques or some Euro mounts for your next trophy, visit us at aframewoodworking.com.